stuff to do. But we're expecting Ibinabo to join us this morning. Okay. Hi, Buki. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're good.
Yes, I am good. So good morning, our family, our Lens family. How are you doing as well? Yeah, today is Tuesday. We want to thank God. I hope yesterday was a good start for you. And if it wasn't, don't worry. Let it be a good start today. Just be I'm not trying to prep you up, but the way the mind works, you can create your environment, with your mindset. See the positive side, like the half cup, is it half empty or half full? So depending on how you see it, see the good things so that you can encourage yourself and move on. I don't know why I'm sharing this, but but I'm not. Don't come and tell me that it's Pastor Buki.
You're the one who said it. I didn't say it.
Well, we are here to encourage one another. So
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I can see Ibinabo joined. Good morning, Ibinabo. Yeah.
Good morning. Hi, Lady Ibinabo. Good morning.
Good morning, my beautiful ladies. I've been struggling with the network. I think we carry protest, and I never answer. Good morning, Lady Buki Efe. Good morning, Olufumi J. Good morning to all the ladies out there and all the gentlemen. What do I say? It's good to be here, Sha. You're very happy.
It's good to have you ladies here. Yesterday was interesting, and I'm sure that today would be even, I'm almost churchy now. We'll be power packed today. Again, Susan would unfortunately not be around today because she has a meeting this morning. Susan, she's the busy. Actually, all the ladies, they do used to fly up and about. Today now, Buki can tell you, I'm out of the country. We've been about to say, oh no, I have to go to Singapore. All of them busy women. So the fact that we have them here is such a privilege, and we don't take it for granted. I just sounded so churchy right now. Sue me, I'm a church girl. Leave me. Okay, let's get to the first one. On the Daily News Review, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, myself and Adeyemi did talk about a story in Lagos State of a couple who killed their adopted daughter, a 10-year-old girl. They don't have their own child. So they abducted their daughter, that girl. But then neighbors were like, is this girl adopted or is she a house girl? And you know how, as with the culture of Nigerians, we just have this terrible culture of some people, not a lot of people, let me not generalize, where somebody comes to live with you and then you don't see them as blood because they did not come out of you. You are not Tomorain is how they say it in Yoruba. And then next thing, they are maltreating the person, they are maltreating the child, whoever the person is, whether you're adult or child, it doesn't matter. And then they killed their 10-year-old adopted daughter. First off, if you decide that you want to adopt a child, that child is automatically yours, blood or not. But obviously not everybody is with that. They used to maltreat her, and this time around she was ill. They sent her on errands, she couldn't do it, and then they beat her to death. I was so saddened by that story, not because it is the first time we're hearing something like that, but because it has now become a practice. Many people go to their villages or talk to, maybe it's a case of, maybe she's an orphan, he's an orphan, you say, I want to take them in, and then the maltreatment, itai rapa, itai gili. Right now, I bumped into this one again, domestic abuse, stepmom arrested for beating her 9-year-old daughter to death in Enugu. Yesterday, we were celebrating Mother's Day, and one of the things we talked about was that the person doesn't have to come from your blood before you say, for you to be called their mom. But there's this angle of it. Interestingly, yesterday I said, let's have conversations. Maybe one day we'll have conversations with stepmoms, because I'm personally intrigued by step relationship, blended family, like some people will say, only for me to see this. The Nigerian police force and the Enugu state government have taken action against a woman who allegedly killed her 9-year-old stepdaughter. she beats the child to death. Residents of the area claimed that the incident happened around 3 p.m. on Sunday, adding that the deceased had allegedly suffered repeated maltreatment from her stepmom before the tragic treatment. Here's what I'm going to say. If you want to marry somebody and you know, and the person has a child, and you know in your heart of hearts that you cannot accept that person's child, the person you claim that you love, you cannot take the thing that came out of them and cannot love that child wholeheartedly. I want to implore you right now on live radio to abort mission. Please don't go ahead to marry the person if you know that you cannot show that child love. But yeah, the ladies are here to fully talk about this because it is just so sad. We typically don't really hear of men beating children to death. We hear of men beating their wives to death. So if we're using one mouth to condemn men who beat their wives to death, we should use the other mouth to also condemn women who beat their women. Are supposed to be nurturers. They are supposed to be maternal, give life, caring and loving. But saying this is, yeah, Bookie, do you want to go ahead? Hi, Bookie.
Yeah, I okay. I didn't know that I was muted. Well, you've actually said it. If you cannot stomach, let me use that word stomach. If you cannot stomach, if you cannot love your spouse's child, from previous marriage, read my lips. That means you don't love him. That's it. Because if you love him with everything he brings. He has disclosed to you that he has a child. Many a times people do not realize that the tables can turn. It can be your own child. Is that the way you want a woman or a man to treat your child? If you cannot love the child, then there's no point going into the marriage. There's no point. What is the essence of going into the marriage? At the end of the day, you yourself, you are going to go through hell because one, you don't like the child. So anytime the child comes out or whatever it is, you are bitter. So is that what you want to carry for the rest of your life? And at the end of the day, look at the story you mentioned now. The couple that beat, and then this one that we're taking on now, where the stepmother beat a 3-year-old child. Even if the child stole meat, or the child stole milk, or stole biscuit, or whatever it is, does that warrant that you will beat? If that child is your own child, would you beat to death? For me, I like what they have done. They have arrested her and they've said justice is going to be speedily done. I even want to add an angle to it. The man also should be brought to book.
Absolutely.
I have seen cases where the stepmother is mean to the children of the late wife. And the man, now dummy, he cannot say anything. The best he will say is, oh, please don't do this now, don't do this now. But you don't take action. What stops you from walking the lady out of your home? Does that mean that when the woman, your late wife was there, does that mean you did not love her or what? Or what happened that you brought in someone and that person cannot love the child of your late wife? And you are there. Many times they will say, many times they will say, oh, I didn't know she was mistreating this. That's the thing. There are no flags. You're not close to your children. Somehow she has divided you with your children that you just come home as a man. Now it's a man. Now I'm looking at a man. How are you children? Are you doing great? Yes. Yeah. And then when the child says, Dad, I want to talk to you. Before you know what is happening, the stepmother has given the child signal. The child says, oh, Daddy, I just want to say I love you and go. You're not seeing the red flags.
Yeah.
For me, when they take the stepmother, they should carry the man as well. Because you cannot say you did not know. You are an accomplice. And please, as a man, you take charge. Even before you are bringing the woman, you need to study and see the vibe between the children and this person you are bringing in.
Yeah.
We'll use this to wrap up. There's somebody in our church. I mean, the wife passed on about 8 years ago, and we've been disturbing him for about 3 years now. I mean, we allowed him to mourn for 5 years. And
we allowed him.
Yes, he's young, so, and he has 2 children. So the pressure had been on you. No, when I say pressure, those subtle pressure. Who is taking care of the children? Don't you need to bring in a woman? Don't you bring and all that and all that? She said, well, when I'm ready. I said, okay, no problem. I'm very close to him. So when he was ready, he entered me, and I said, please, the first thing is see the vibe between the children and this lady. You love him, and you love her, it's fine. But please, can you bring them close and observe? Hear what the girl is saying, hear what the boy is saying. You understand? And thankfully, I mean, the 2 kids just gelled. If they don't see her, and even she herself, if they don't see themselves, now wahala. You understand? They just gelled, And then after about a year, and now they're getting married. Well, it took them a year because he said he wants to observe very well. Even to pretend, you can pretend for a year, but get as it be. I mean, a year is still okay. I'm not talking of 1 month or 2 months. It's even going to be more than a year, because
Some people, if there was a wrong way of, they are sure to hit on it. No matter how good you think you are, no matter how much you want to please them, because they just want to go the wrong way every time. They are wicked. They don't see anything good in you, no matter what you do. And it is very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, because I've been asking myself that, okay, what can a 9-year-old girl, what could she have done? What could a 9-year-old have done that is so terrible that you needed to beat her until she passed on? You could not call yourself to order. You could not, there was nobody around to caution you. And they left you, and you beat this poor girl to death. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't that day's beating that killed that child. It was the accumulation of injuries and instilled fear. There's a certain level a person treats you and certainly instill fear in you when you are at the point of death and you see someone who could rescue you. You wouldn't even ask for help because you are too scared, too afraid of your oppressor that you can't even say, help me. Let alone, I'm even looking at an adult, let alone a child of 9 years. It's unfortunate. And I want to tell everyone out there, repeated maltreatment kills slowly. When you are maltreating a child, sometimes you're not even beating this child physically, but there are other ways to maltreat children, and you are perfecting it on this child. You are gradually killing this child. And when this child dies eventually, whether it's not from the beating now, but know in your mind that you just murdered a child. And another problem is the concern, my biggest concern is the normalization of harmful behavior. But from the story, the neighbors came out to confirm that the woman had always been very, very unfair, very harsh on that child. You knew that this woman was harsh. What were the steps taken? Like Buki said that they should arrest the father. In fact, for me, you better not come and give any story, or else you are going to regret it, because you will be part of it. Because what step did you take? You waited until this child died before you now came up to say that she had been maltreating this child forever. So in the course of maltreatment, what did you do? What step did you do? I was waiting for a story like, that was how she beat the girl one day, and I had to talk sense into her, and we quarreled, she fought me, and I faced her, this and that. I even reported her to the police and all of that. There was no story like that. You were waiting till waiting concern me. So even na them carry pikin come. If the pikin and then police will catch. It is not the right way of thinking. I know that we now live in a world where everybody's expected to mind their business and all of that. But when it has to do with a child that is defenseless, a child that cannot help himself or herself, God has put you there as a neighbor. If you were privy to all the maltreatment, you should do something. Because sometimes you see some of these men, they don't really pay attention. Their interest is, let me make money, pay the bills, everybody is okay, I'm paying school fees, I'm doing this, so it's fine. The emotional aspect does not really concern some of them. They don't pay attention. So even when the pains are written all over the child's face, they won't see it because they are too distracted with other responsibilities and they will not notice. Because if you are the type of parents who pays attention, you realize that this girl does not look happy. She's always withdrawn. She's always one way or the other. She's always not behaving like every other child. You know how children are. When a father had gone out and is back, is the newest person in the house that day. So they're always around that person. Was she like that? If she wasn't, and the man didn't notice. You see, some people, that is why sometimes I told somebody someday, I said, just like you have to go for a job interview to get a job, just like as a politician, you have to campaign and canvass for votes before you are really, if votes counts, you are voted into that office. If we really have to go for interviews before we could get pregnant and have babies, some mothers will not have children. Some parents will not have children. Some fathers will not father any child because they don't qualify. They don't have what it takes to be a parent. I mean, a 9-year-old, I've said this before, I used to have a child who lived with me. She wasn't my child. I didn't know her from anywhere. I just saw her in the church. I saw her in the gatehouse, that she was there alone. And I did my findings and I realized that she was always there alone. Her father would have gone somewhere and she would be there. And she was open, very susceptible to abuse of any kind. And I couldn't take it. I had to bring her to my house. That was a risk. What if she came to my house and maybe she had an underlying issue, and then maybe after giving her food, she fainted and then probably she died? How would I explain this to the government, to the police? But above and beyond all that fears, I brought her home that I couldn't. In fact, my youngest child wouldn't even let me be if I had not brought her home. And imagine now your own child, whether you had adopted the child or that child was a family member's child who came to stay with you, briefly, whatever the relationship was, how could she beat a 9-year-old to death? I can't understand it.
You can't
understand it. And I want to tell everyone out there as I wrap up that we should begin to look at ourselves. If you are the type that easily, you are always flying off the handle at every slightest provocation, please take it easy. Take it easy, because one day will be one day. You go enter, and Nigerian law, Nigerian justice, they blindfolded. They don't see you, then they see your action. They don't see your mood or the reasons. They are saying what you have done eventually, and that is how they are going to punish you, where they are going to punish you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies. I mean, you've said it. There's no need to overflog this issue. You've said it. If you know that you cannot love someone's children, please abort mission, leave them in the hand of God. Please go and find a single person with yourself, right? Don't yes. Okay, this is still Women Radio 91.7 FM. You can call in. The phone lines are now open. 0700 917 917 or 0800 1235 917 917. The wrong first number is wrong. Or 7000 917 917 or 0800 1235 917. You can send a message, WhatsApp message, text message, or voice note to 0703 1756 537 or 08155 917 917. Remember that we are live on YouTube at WFM 917, or you can listen to us while you're on the move via our website, www.wfm917.com. This is HerLens, where we discuss topical issues basically on here that affect women, especially men, children, the vulnerable. And we just finished talking about a child who was killed by her stepmom. The ladies are here, Buki and Ibn Abba. Susan is not around today. Okay, the next one. What it means when you sign prenup with a lady. For those of us who do not know what prenup means, a prenuptial agreement, let me open it up so I don't say rubbish. Prenuptial agreement, it means simply it's a legally binding contract created by a couple before marriage that outlines how their assets, their debts, their spousal support will be managed in the event of divorce or death. I can't tell you for sure when prenup started, but is that agreement. So for instance, if you're the kind of person that maybe before you got married to your spouse, you are, I don't know, billionaire in dollars or something, and the person that you want to marry is not really a billionaire in dollars. Actually, I find that families that are on the same social class, they both have prenuptial agreement just to protect each other's assets, like I said, in the event of death or divorce. But then we've been seeing that these days it's turned into another ball game entirely, where people are like, oh no, you must sign a prenup before I marry you because you can decide that you want to leave me. Or if I decide I want to leave you, you don't get. Typically what happens is there's 50, so in some cases there's 50% division of the properties, assets and whatever. And in some cases there's a percentage to it. Now, are prenups legal in Nigeria? Are they recognized in Nigeria? Yes, right? Some people do obey the tenets of these. But right now, we see that when people break up, oh, I signed a prenup. Let me tell you why this is coming up. Over the weekend, a tech bro came on Twitter and said that he's divorced his wife. That he was going to bring her to the UK. He sponsored her, blah, 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 blah. But then she cheated on him. They have a child together. They had even come to Nigeria to get married. They went back. They have a child together. She cheated on him. They've broken up. People said, oh, how far your properties? He says that there was a prenup that she signed. And that's what brought up this prenup conversation again. Now, I want to ask the ladies. And I'm glad that Ibn Abba and Buki are here, because Buki is nation builder. Ibn Abba too. You're a lawyer too, right? If I'm not mistaken. Ibn Abba, yeah?
I'm an educationist, actually.
So the ladies here, so we have them. So I'm going to start with Buki, who's a nation builder. Are you for or against prenup? Do you think that it is necessary when it comes to protecting your assets? Or are you look, I'm married to you for better, for worse. What is yours is mine. What is mine is yours. Why should there be a prenup in the first instance? Go ahead.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. You had explained what a prenup is. And let's start with, why do people do that now? Mm-hmm. I know in Nigeria, it's still at the infancy stage. You know, it's there, but not many people know about it. Unlike advanced world, countries like United States, Canada, France, Germany, Sweden. However, even in some of these states, it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed because this is something you signed before marriage, right? On how you're going to share your properties in the case of divorce or death. And that is when there's no will or whatever it is, or somewhere line, both of you build empire, you build businesses. How are you going to share it if something now happens? Maybe there are children from other your spouse. It could be from the boy, from the man, or from the woman. And maybe the future is looking bleak, or maybe the future is looking bright, at the point of you entering into the marriage. Why would they do all these things? Yes, I know you're talking about nation building and all that. And one of the spheres of influence is if the family is strong. And when I talk about family being strong, it's about family that are built on values, values that are enriched in culture, in faith, everybody has their own religion, but I will probably just talk broadly, right? In a home where you are suspecting one another, there can't be that strong bond. As a Christian, why would I even enter into a prenup? Because like our uncle has said today, she has explained, the Fumi has explained it, that it's a legal agreement where they explain how money, property, debts, businesses will be shared, if there's a divorce or if there is death. And you now know that many a times we are now entering into an environment where we now call transactional marriages. Unlike before that, when you enter, but we now begin to see a lot of marriages that are coming in on transactional basis. I think we discussed it yesterday. For a child of God, it is a no-no. But let's just talk about let's just talk about, I just have to let people know that this is my stand. It's a no-no for me. I don't understand the prenup. I don't understand it. If you are in. The Bible says two shall become one. And where you have trust, where there's openness, where, you there's no secret, nothing. But in this case, you are entering into a marriage because you know that, hey, if it's the issue of death, the will could take care of that. But hey, except if death just comes and there's no will, but at least there is an agreement that you can fall back in to say, you know what, before we got married, this was what we said, the businesses we are going to build is going to be 50-50, which actually it should be in the CAC document. I'm trying to debunk, all these things. Then, the man has gotten a new wife, which is not in the prenup. Things do happen. My own father, he never thought he was going to have a second wife. But after about 20 or 25 years, thereabout, 20 years, another wife surfaced. You understand? So if they had signed a prenup, the issue is that we started this business together, we built this house together. Now, so this new wife will now come and scatter the whole thing. And then you now say the children also must inherit, the businesses that we have jointly built. So I'm only telling you why people are now looking at these things, because marriage values have been broken. Home values have been broken. A lot of people have been shattered into pieces. We all know the stories of people that built the world together, and then the woman is no longer fit to be your wife, in terms of public image and things like that. You now bring a young person, and then the young person comes and says, my own children also must have inheritance and things like that, and then of course, when there are debts, you understand, possibly maybe the debt, you are not even aware of it. We know someone who was, the wife didn't even have an idea of it. The business, okay, they said the business is good, but meanwhile, there was heavy debt. It was when the man died that the woman now got to know that there are debt and all that. So how would you feel in all that? So I'm only trying to expose areas where people are doing this, particularly those that have financial business, family wealth, because they also want to protect their family wealth. If you go and marry somebody that is not from their class, right? I will not call it a gold digger. They love themselves and they want to marry. But the family will say, hey, we also want to be sure that if something happens, if something happens to our son, now in the case of our son or our daughter now, but more often is more for our son, what's going to happen to the wealth? And the person wants to go and marry somebody else. You know, it happens in our custom too. That's why they don't give, they don't allow girls to have inheritance in terms of land, because they will say, okay, if the woman
you are giving it to your husband,
you understand? So there's a whole lot of dynamics in it, but that is the reason why people will say they want to go into prenup or whatever it is. It's for their own reason. But I think, coming from where I am coming from, you know, from Christian values, I don't think this is. If you enter into it, you have to be fair to one another, right? You have to be open to one another. But if it's outside of that and you are comfortable with prenup, go ahead. Because I won't say everybody is a Christian. I won't say everybody is knows Christ the way I know Christ. I have a relationship with Christ, and I know what the Bible says. And I, as much as possible, I try to live, you know, with the Bible. It's not everybody that does that. So if you think this is it, then it's fine by you. But the only thing they also need to know is that even when they now get to court, the court has the right to reject.
But we have come to have a very deep understanding of what the prenup has in some places, and it is already finding its feet in Nigeria. Why am I saying this? You know, now we have, you know, when you look at prenup, mostly it is common among high net worth individuals and those who inherited family assets, like Boki mentioned. But if we view a prenup as a financial roadmap or contingency plan, we won't really see much negativity in it. See, many people associate prenup with distrust, okay? They associate it with pessimism, or they will tell you, they're already preparing for failure before marriage even begins. But it depends on the conversation, the reason for the conversation, what provoked the conversation, and the maturity of the people who are talking about it. Most times when we talk about prenup, we are thinking about the woman. Oh, the woman. But don't forget that there are some women who will come into a marriage with not much, but eventually in the next 5, 10, 15 years, they have become so successful that in terms of wealth and treasures, they surpassed their spouses. And then what do you say? Do you say that because there was a story of somebody who wanted a divorce from her husband because of so many things that this man did to her, and the man said, "No problem." It was like he was expecting it. No problem, but you have to give me my share of your wealth. When we came together, you didn't have this much. And that was where the struggle started. And that was where the back and forth started. And his family members too supported, now the man get luck. If you don't get luck, you don't go make all this money. Do you understand? So, and they being that woman signed a prenup, even because most times we always believe that it is, like I said, it is people with high net worth that would want to do all of that, or people who inherited family assets. But sometimes, if you don't have much, and the thing occurs to you, and you discuss it playfully, and then you really want to take it very serious, I want to take it to the next level, it's a prerogative, because there is something we call kaleidoscope. And if we look into the human life, in human experience, life is ever changing with endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Person you knew 10 years ago could be a different person. Whatever changed the person is not your headache, but the person has changed. If not, why do we have so much divorce cases all over the place? Was it that was it an arranged marriage? Some people, they They were in courtship for so long and they got married, and it was like love was so palpable between them. You could see love, and then one day they choose to divorce. Something changed. Somebody changed. That is why I always tell, don't throw away that part that says, that talks about the ever-changing, human nature with endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Experience everything. We change over the time. Some of us are very deliberately not going the negative way. Deliberate. Because if you're not deliberate about it, the Ibinabo you used to know 10 years ago could be a different person today. But because one is deliberate, one is intentional about it, you are maintaining that's your great values. Because you see, value is everything. And if you don't mind how, or the people you move with, or the situation that you have found yourself, you realize that you begin to lose some certain values. People lose certain values due to various reasons. It could be the friends. I have seen men who I could swear would never cheat on their wives, eventually cheated on their wives because of friends they had, the kind of into and all of that. So you see, so like the kaleidoscope, like I was saying, each one of us has unique patterns and characteristics. So in different circumstances or environments, these patterns changed and are revealed. And when they are revealed, you are seeing somebody, it's like, this is not the person I married 25 years ago. And imagine you have already accumulated so much wealth. And the person is so greedy. Maybe you are the one making it and the person is not really making much. Envy will set in. And when envy enters everybody's heart, but as a child of God, you have to drive it out with immediacy. If you leave it there, nurture it, it will become something else, and it will turn you into a monster that even you will feel strange to your own self. So you see, prenup, yes, it's perceived as like in Nigeria, it is still viewed through a cultural and emotional lens rather than purely a legal or financial one. But you have to be careful because of what is happening these days. And people are learning from their forefathers and their foremothers. What happened to this person? What happened to this other person? So you want to take a cue from there. So for me, it means trust deficit and all of that. But I must also tell you that trust and financial prudence are not mutually exclusive. They are complementary components of one another. When somebody is trustworthy, when it comes to finances, the person should be prudent. The person should apply a measure of being responsible when it comes to finances. There are some people, whether man or woman, when it comes to finances, they are very irresponsible. So you are the one working so hard, they are the ones spending the money anyhow. And then if there was no prenup, you want to say, okay, I'm tired of working and pouring water in the basket. I want to find my level. And then the person will say, okay, no problem, let's divorce. And then they begin to want from that divorce. So whether prenup strengthens or weakens a relationship depends on the document itself, but more on the maturity, the transparency, and the power balance, and the spirit with which the conversation happens, by the way, because now Oyinbo get them, but now we they borrow them. And anything you borrow from Oyinbo, if it makes sense, if it's going to help you, why not? And lastly, to wrap up, the first thing that came to my mind when I started ruminating on prenup was all those husbands who will say, maybe because they have money, my wife should not work. My wife should not take any income. She should be a sit-at-home mom. I'm capable of taking care of her. And then the man now makes a mistake of wanting to sign a prenup. Prenup 1 year. Prenup. If I'm the one in that woman's shoe, I will sign it. And that you cannot keep me at home. You cannot sign a prenup with you, and then you don't allow me to do anything. What I trying to send me back to the forest, back to where? So you see, people who sign prenup, they know themselves. A man cannot sign prenup with the wife to be, and then ask her not to work. For me, a prenup is an open ticket to do your business, fly, achieve your goals, build your career, make sure that you are not fully dependent on one person. Have your multiple streams of income. Do everything within the ambit of the law to make your life a success on every side, financially, everything. Because I believe that commonsensically, a man cannot be demanding for a prenup and yet want his wife not to work. I mean, what's wrong? There's something wrong.
Yeah. All right.
So whatever it is, however you view prenup is your prerogative. But as far as I'm concerned, there are some cases where I don't think it is so bad. For some people, if you feel it is okay for you, go ahead. If my child comes today and says that he wants to get married and he wants to sign a prenup, it's not me that will tell you yes or no. Go and discuss it with the person that you want to sign it with. The first thing I will ask is why. If you give me strong reasons, if you make sense to my own sense, if our sense coincide, I will say go ahead. But if you're not making sense, maybe you want to do it just because everybody is doing it. Because that is the common thing among the Gen Zs we have today. Because it is happening somewhere, some must be part of it.
Yeah, we're running out of time.
Wisdom is profitable to direct, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies. Today's topics very, very different, and love your contributions and your comments on it. Catch us same time next week, tomorrow, on another edition of HerLens with the ladies of HerLens. Thank you once again, Ibinabo and Buki, for today's great edition of HerLens. Up next is Radio Doctor season. Bye for now.